Happy Monday. Did you know that God does not need our ability? He needs our availability. Do you believe that? I'm Cassie with Dream Big Today, and it is Monday, January 27th, 2025. And for our noontime together, this is something that was highlighted to me in all of the readings. And so for now, I want to start in Psalm 22, verse 30, where it says, "Our children will also serve him. Future generations will hear about the wonders of the Lord." Future generations will hear about the wonders of the Lord. How? How will our children learn to serve him, love him, be in relationship with him? They learn through you and your availability, your experiences, your stories, sharing the stories that Granny and Grandpop shared with you. This question this generation has so many books, YouTube go-tos, sermons, places to go to get answers to the questions. However, this first generation that we're reading about, well, not first generation, but the early generations, they had other people. They had their elders, their family to teach them about the culture, the customs, the rules, and the ways to be a part of society. It's the older generation that guides them, teaches them, and shares about the past miracles. They didn't have wonderful readings and commentaries and translations and ways of finding things out. If we want future generations to know God's way and his love, we must teach them. And the past generations knew that. Those early generations knew that, because when we were last reading this week, Joseph died. And in my Learning Application Bible, it shares the timeline, a year, a chronological. And it says the death of Joseph was 1805 BC. The birth of Moses was 1526 BC. So that's almost 300 years of things happening that was only going to be shared by word of mouth. So they needed to see and learn also by example. What those older people, elders, learned, they had to sometimes change their ways. And, they go from common sense to wisdom. We've been talking a lot about that. The lessons of what we read should be reinforced at home. And the older children get and they come visit, they are still learning that. With the kids that aren't here and we talk to them on the phone, they're learning what we're doing and what's our importance, and it teaches them. Last week, Friday, I shared that when I go to talk to my 21-year-old or my 24-year-old or my 10-year-old niece, or what was important to me at that age? Where was I in my walk with God? What words could somebody have said that would change my path at that age? And I think about that a lot here in the reading. I loved in the New Testament reading, Matthew 18, we read 1 through 20, but verses 2 through 4, it says, "Jesus called a little child to him and put the child among them. Then he said, 'I tell you the truth, unless you turn from your sins and become like little children, you will never get into the kingdom of heaven. So anyone who becomes as humble as this little child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven.'" The disciples were being really childish. They were arguing about stature. Who's worthy? Who's better than the other? All these petty little issues. And Jesus takes this opportunity to talk about the difference between childish and childlike, humble, sincere in heart, trusting. Children want to please their authority, their parents, their older brothers and sisters, most of the time. Sometimes they're pretty quick to learn and follow what is expected of them. They don't want to disappoint. But are we available to keep sharing the Lord's ways, the miracles, the answered prayers that He's given in our lives? How available are you for that? These are journals for my kids. What they don't hear now, they will read later. I think it's a great way to mark milestones and to share something important, that like aha moments for us, when all of a sudden your experience gives you a wisdom. And as we get older, the world fills our schedule with stuff. Needless stuff. Sometimes things we have to do, of course, but our attitude in it can always be different. I was just asked this weekend when I was going to retire, and I was like, retire from what? The Bible never talks about retirement, and I love what I do. So as long as you're loving what you're doing and sharing that with the Lord and always pointing people toward the Lord, why would I stop that? We are less likely, though, to be involved, to teach and share and show the younger ones all the how-tos, which I have seen that in my own life. Paul continues to serve with the youth group, and I haven't. And used to do Sunday school, and I haven't. There are certain things that I'm doing that I feel are very important right now and part of our growth. God used Moses to say, I don't need you to be eloquent in your speech, which I don't even think was true, because we heard this morning from Debbie and we read he was learned. Like in Acts 7:22, it said that he was taught in those ways. He wasn't confident. There's a difference in being eloquent and speaking and being confident in what you're saying. And it's okay to just show a complete dependency on God. It's not weak, and it has a great influence. And again, God doesn't need your ability. He needs our availability. So that will mean being obedient. In your time with Him, don't just read and go, pray and go, worship and go, take communion and go. Stop. Dwell in His presence a little bit. Linger for His answers. Be aware that He's with you and see where He needs you available. So I want to thank you for being part of this morning and afternoon, whether you're live or on the replay. My prayer is that we all are helping others to learn these little lessons that God gives us in our reading. In what you learn, I pray that you're willing to share and show it to somebody else, even if you feel unequipped, because if you give Him what you have, a willing heart, you'll be surprised at where He takes you and what He uses you for. So you are never alone. You are loved incredibly. And I pray that you go be a blessing. Have a great week, and we'll see you next time. Bye.